Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 663 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined today and yesterday and the day before that by David, Dylan Duncan Bray, and Ben Funky Askren. What's up, fellas?
Hey, we announced JD Rader as our co-host, and then he's done about 1 or 12 shows.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Should we put him on a pip?
The guy, he doesn't show up for work. The guy doesn't show up for work.
I mean, he fled the country. I think some people, Bracky, he moved to West Virginia. He did his time. And JD sits in Bracky's seat for about a week, and he can't He didn't go to West Virginia. He literally fled the country. So he allegedly is getting back tonight, and so maybe we'll have him next week. But yeah, you're right. You're right, Ben.
Based on his Instagram, it looks like he's set up a small criminal empire in Mexico. While he's been down there.
Oh, we got to send this to Tyler. This dude is out of control. Yeah, if we can just get a sliver of this this personality out on the show, it's gonna be great. He is quite a character. I'm gonna send this to Tyler here shortly. But hey, so very exciting show because Coach Rob Koll is going to be coming on here in the next 10, 15 minutes or so to talk about his staff, what's going on at Stanford. I have a lot of questions. Some about the staff, some about name, image, and likeness, some about just general questions because Rob Koll's a guy that I really enjoy talking to and listening to especially. So excited for that. They already announced Vincenzo Joseph, Enoch Francois. So a very Northwestern College heavy show.
Yes.
As we have a Northwestern College alum here, Enoch Francois, another Northwestern College alumnus. Go Red Raiders.
Go Red Raiders.
So yeah, tell us a little about Enoch Francois. What a little bit of his backstory.
So I remember we had a guy. He's from Palm Beach area. I think he went to Palm Beach Gardens High School. We had another guy on our team from that school. And he told me in the summer after our freshman year, like, hey, we got this guy coming in. Maybe it was after my sophomore year. We got this guy coming in, Enoch. He's going to be really good. So I looked him up. He had placed in Florida like once. I'm like, what? I don't get it. How's this guy going to be good? And he showed up and just like physically, he had a lot of the tools. He just hadn't developed yet athletically. He ended up, man, I remember the first time I wrestled with him, he grabbed my wrists and I was like, well, my wrists now belong to Enoch Francois. I cannot.
Why were you wrestling Enoch Francois?
He came in as a 165 pounder. I was a 149 pounder. So we weren't that far apart. He eventually grew. Obviously now he's massive. But yeah, he was a 3-time All-American in the NAIA level. Was a finalist, and then went on wrestled senior level for a while. I know he coached at Army for a while. He's invested a lot in his education too. He has a PhD. It's something sports education related. So, he's a great guy, good friend, and excited for him. It's a good opportunity. I think he'll do a good job.
Okay, here's Tyler has the picture of JD Rayner, by the way. This is what he's up to. So I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
This is somewhere in an undisclosed location in Mexico. So yes,
definitely a criminal enterprise.
Definitely a criminal enterprise. I see why Tyler ripped that off the screen quick. Thanks a lot, Tristan Lara.
I didn't see.
Well, you can go back.
Every time you pull up Instagram posts, you're getting
all these.
Whoa!
Everyone just says the F word like it's going out of style. My gosh.
Yeah, Christian, you gotta watch your back here.
Yeah, I know. Wait, I don't even understand. But yeah,
well, these college kids, they're being sneaky. You know, they know you're gonna put these Instagram posts up, so they're putting profane comments in there, coming for your job, maybe.
Oh, maybe that would be an interesting way to go about it. But you know, it's one I wouldn't see coming. It's like if we put F words on our Instagrams,
what if AJ Ferrari stole your job? That would be tremendous.
I think there's a strong possibility he could do that someday. He put on an Instagram post so funny. It's funny to me at least. Him and Dayton Fix.
His Instagram story.
It's like I can't wait for it's a story. I can't wait for July 1st, and he tagged at Nearfall, which is like a wrestling clothing gear, I think, and Versace. So it's like his two big targets, Nearfall and Versace.
That's the 1-2 punch.
That is the same. We haven't seen one of those. What's the funniest sponsorship opportunity you ever had, Ben?
Me?
That you didn't? Yeah, like ever anything that was like, okay, this is real ridiculous.
Just the Dude Wipes one, which they wanted me to put a bidet in and use it, and I did not do that.
Why? That's really why would that little bidet talk? Why?
Kind of funny. Washes your butt.
Okay, I know. Funny. I think everyone knows what they do. I don't understand what.
Well, everyone did not understand that.
Oh, okay. I guess my question is, what's that have to do with Dude Wipes, or is that a separate sponsorship?
No, the dude wives, they want your butt not to be hurt by bad toilet paper.
Okay.
So they make all kinds of products. They make butt wipes and bidets and stuff like that.
They make bidets too?
What?
They make bidets for real?
Yeah, I got one upstairs. You want me to go get it? I haven't installed it.
Nope.
I can send it to you guys if you want.
I'm not a bathroom humor kind of, pass on that.
I just thought they made strictly wipes. I did not know about their plumbing products. That's,
Yeah.
No, and they actually make like a full body, I think they call it a shower in a bag, and they sent me a whole box, so I'll leave it at the wrestling academy so the kids can, clean off after practice before they drive home.
That's smart. Kids are disgusting.
If Rob Koll had any reservations about coming on this show, I'm sure they are absolutely heightened at this point in the first 10 minutes of this program. But we'll continue. We'll just do our best. Still no word on the Cornell staff at this point. There's plenty of names getting swirled about, but once they're ready to announce those, that'll be an exciting time to see how Coach Gray fills his staff. So yeah, good stuff there. Don't know where, Ben, if you have anywhere you want to go before we bring Coach on in the next 5 minutes or so.
No, I was actually thinking about the Junior World Championships, looking at the schedule a little bit, and freestyle goes first. Did you know that? Usually freestyle's last.
Yeah, I don't know why or what the determination is with that. I know sometimes like Budapest, like Hungary's really big in Greco, so they would save Greco for last, but I'm not sure if that's always the consideration.
Junior Worlds is going to be traveling there is going to be wild for our guys. We're sending
Hard.
3 guys. Yeah, I mean these guys. It's in Ufa, Russia, and from what Spey was telling me, they have you can't even buy a flight from the United States to Ufa, Russia. You have to buy one to Moscow, and then you have to go on some separate Russian airline website and get the last one. So they have to spend
Oh, really? I thought I got it all on Travel. Well, I didn't get it. I was looking at the possibility of going, but it was like 3 stops or something. Like you could not get there. It was not easy to get there.
Yeah, it's two and a half full days of travel before they actually get there. It's gonna be.
So you're not going.
Why are they having it in the middle of freaking nowhere? It's so annoying.
Also, I thought Russia was not allowed to host any World Championship events right now because they're
good point.
banned. But
he's fine. It's no problem.
We have some own rules.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I do not think I'm going to Ufa. I looked into the possibility because I was very excited to go support Keegan, but it was very difficult to get to. So,
well, we're excited for Junior Worlds and watching Keegan and the other members of Tiger Style that you put on the squad.
Absolutely,
it's exciting times.
Tickets are now $5,700 for a basic flight, and you have at least 2 stops
or 1 Bitcoin, Ben.
That's way less than Bitcoin. I wouldn't spend.
That's the joke, Ben.
Appreciating currency. I told you yesterday I don't get jokes very well.
I know.
Dang it.
I know. But I at least figured you'd look puzzled for 3 to 4 seconds and then get it. That it was just a dunk on Bitcoin. It's just a fun thing to do sometimes.
No, Bitcoin's back on its way up. I think we hit the bottom.
Oh yeah, you hit the bottom. I'm always hearing about the dips. Everyone smash bought the dip, bro. Blah. See, it's like give me a break. Like you know, guy. All right, on to more pressing matters, more interesting topics. Joining us live from an undisclosed location. We'll just say it's undisclosed, even though it could be very well disclosed. Coach Rob Koll.
JD Raider.
Yeah. Coach Koll, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Man, we're so excited to have you. Real quickly, why don't you give us the rundown? Where are you, if you can say? Last time you were on Bader's show was undisclosed. I thought that was a really awesome power move. It's like, I can't even say where I am right now. If you can say where you are, please do, and give us kind of where you are in the process of getting to Stanford.
I'm in a bunker. No,
Yes.
I mean, I'm literally in my house right now. I'm getting ready to hop on the next day, hop on a plane, kind of work my way back to Palo Alto, hit a few recruits on the way. I figured it'd be a lot cheaper than doing that than to try to get out there and come back to the East Coast.
Makes tons of sense. So been a couple weeks now since you've been named the head coach at Stanford. seismic move in the college wrestling landscape. How have the first few weeks been?
Well, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. You've got to meet the new team. You got to say goodbye to your team. You got to try to introduce yourself to all the alumni at Stanford and say goodbye to the alumni at Cornell. You got to get your staff together, and it's not just offering jobs. You got to recruit these guys like you're recruiting a top recruit. And then you've got to put your RTC together. You got to fund RTC because we inherited the coffers were kind of dry. There wasn't a whole lot going on right now. So I'm fundraising for that as well. And of course, obviously the biggest part of the job is to make sure we have a fiscally sound program. So that's obviously the fundraising with the Stanford side, but these guys have been fantastic. I'm going to take a lot of credit, for their generosity. But it's been a real pleasure.
That's great. And so you announced two of your coaches yesterday, Vincenzo Joseph, Enoch Francois. Why don't you talk a little bit about those two? Why were those two the right fit for the program?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't do my release. I was going to release it to my listserv after. I waited until after the show, but Stanford had done the release before. So not as deep, dark of a conspiracy as people might think. But anyway, yeah, I got Vincenzo Joseph. All the guys we have now. I have my RTC guys lined up as well. We've never beaten the son of a gun. If I figure, heck, can't beat him, we might as well bring him in on staff. And I've just watched them interact at Penn State. I hate the Penn State guys because they're good. Drives me crazy. It was funny. I actually met Jordan Burroughs. I mean, really, all these years, the first time I really met him was actually at the U23s, and what a nice person. I'm like, oh my God, I feel bad for hating this man so much, but he beat Kyle. I mean, we wrestled, so I have a hard time liking the people we're competing against. But I watched Joseph for the last number of years, and win or lose, I just like the guy. And he's got a great personality. He's very warm. He's engaging. Technically, he's creative. And so as far as an assistant coach, that's what I want. I want a guy who can not just communicate well with the kids in the team and teach, but also can bring in great kids. And that's the name of the game. You got to be able to recruit, or I don't care how good of a coach you are. If you don't have, nowadays, especially how talented these kids are, if you don't start at a very high level, you're in big trouble. And then Enoch, I've known for years. He was in our program for about 3 years. I met him he was actually training at West Point. Really liked his work ethic, convinced him to come over to Cornell. At that time, he was a full-time teacher. So he would actually get up in the morning, run our regional training center lifts, and he'd go to work all day long, teach a bunch of high school kids. And then he was the assistant wrestling coach. Then he would come over and train, and then he would go study prepare for his PhD, because he was taking classes towards his PhD. And he did that for years until he ultimately, took another job down in Florida. He was an administrator and a coach down there and a teacher. And I need a logistics guy. I need someone who keeps me organized. He's wonderful with people if you've ever met him. And I compare him to like a big Mike Gray. Mike Gray is fantastic in the room, but he also can do stuff in the office with me and help me keep me focused. And that's going to be one of Enoch's many jobs. So I'm really excited to have both those guys.
I'm always really curious about the various programs' sort of division of labor and like how the head coaches kind of divvy that up. You have sometimes they're running the room, or they're the main recruiter, or they're the CEO type, as you are often called, Coach. How are you approaching, or how do you approach that division of labor, and how do you see that maybe working with this current crew?
I always get that CEO moniker. I think Enron. I'm not sure. Yeah. There's a lot of. Not always the most organized. I'm all over the place. I know what my strengths are, though. I feel like I'm pretty self-aware of where my talents lie and where they don't. And I've been able to do a pretty decent job of surrounding myself with people who complement my weaknesses and actually, accentuate my strengths. So my division of labor is you don't just make up I have a very long and detail-oriented kind of flow chart, and you don't just say, okay, you're going to do this, 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 this. You pick the tasks that suit the people, and you adjust the flow that delegation of duties according to who you have. If I have a guy who's fantastic dealing with parents and kids, I'm not going to have him just doing the travel and scheduling and budget work. If I have a guy who's much more detail oriented, I'm going to have him do those things. And I am, that is my biggest weakness. When I probably have lost $50,000 in not doing expense reports because I can't stand it. It makes me cringe to start doing that type of detail. I hate it. But get me in a house with a family or put me in the room, I'm great. I love that kind of stuff. So, it's I think a lot of coaches sometime, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of how the coaches will do it, but I think they just say, okay, you do this, and you do this, and it doesn't match their strengths and it makes them miserable. And I think I don't think coaches have been taught how to run an organization. I think they know how to teach moves and recruit, and there's a lot more to running a show than that.
Well, you just hit on something that I definitely wanted to ask you about. You talk about teaching your coaches, which I don't know if that's a common conversation in wrestling, but your coaching tree is insane at this point. The number of head coaches that you have kind of come up under your tutelage it's a really incredible and impressive list. How much thought do you put into the development of the coach?
I think a lot of that is a product of where they coached. I coached at Cornell, so you have to learn a lot. You develop a lot of tools to work at Cornell. People give us, and I always go back to this story. I remember when we were recruiting, we first came with Jack Spates, and I always give Jack a lot of credit because that guy taught me how to work. And I remember when we first started coaching there, everyone would say, well, Cornell, you're never going to be able to do it because it's too expensive. It's too hard to get in. Your facilities are terrible. It's whatever. And then the same coaches who were saying those things 5 years later were saying, well, yeah, of course you're going to win because you've got great financial aid, as opposed to saying it's too expensive. You got great. It's a great school. Who doesn't want to go there? As opposed to saying it's too hard to get in there. And you say, and then we had the facilities. We'd started developing different facilities, and so you got to focus on what you've got. But we didn't have a lot, and so you develop a lot of skills to compensate for that. You had to do the fundraising because we didn't have the resources. So I developed the ability to ask, because that's the biggest weakness for fundraising. These coaches, you're not going to get a gift if you don't ask, and you need to make sure that you have to instill upon the people you're asking, your vision, and make sure that your vision becomes their vision. And then the admission side is all about grinding it out and lifting up enough rocks to find kids who can get into the school. And then you have the financial aid part, find kids who are poor enough to afford, who can afford it. So those are all skill sets that can be applied anywhere you go. And so I think that's why more than my tutelage is probably because they've honed their skills at a school that's made them have to learn. If you go to Oklahoma, or not to pick on any Oklahoma or my alma mater, North Carolina, and not that they have everything, by the way, either of those schools, but there are innate advantages as far as admissions. If you have X, Y, and Z, the person will be admitted. You can give them scholarships. You can do a lot of. You don't have to do as many of these various tools or skills. You don't have to learn as many of these skills that you do at Cornell. And so, but if you apply if you have all those skills and you take them to those places, every single one of them can be applied. So I think that's probably why I'll take all the credit, right? But I think it's a lot of it's just learning at Cornell.
So one question I had, you sort of touched on it, and when I started following wrestling closely, you can, and a wrestling fan can kind of conceptualize the idea of a scholarship, an athletic scholarship. But one thing I didn't understand until I started talking to more coaches is the impact of financial aid and the discrepancies in the levels of financial aid that different schools had. Could you maybe, you probably know better than anyone about that. Could you maybe explain that to wrestling fans that are like, this is a huge factor in how you guys and how a lot of schools are able to get in some guys without taking up scholarship money. Could you maybe explain that?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If given my options, I would rather have scholarships, at Cornell. People say, oh, you're lucky. I'm like, no, we're not lucky. But we've made an okay situation great, because you have to work. You find enough kids who qualify for aid. Now, not every school has the luxury of Cornell's financial aid. And Cornell doesn't have Harvard's financial aid or Princeton's Harvard financial aid. but we sure as heck have a lot better financial aid than a Penn State. And that's what people don't give credit to Penn State. It's extremely expensive these days. When I grew up, Penn State didn't cost much, but their financial aid is horrible. So it's either a scholarship or you're paying pretty much, hopefully in state or out of state, which is cost prohibitive. And so, Koll's been able to convince kids to pay a lot more to go there. And that's a skill, man. That's not easy to do. Michigan's the same way. They have almost no financial aid. Lehigh is a kind of a combination. They have financial aid. It's pretty darn good if you're not an athlete, but if you're an athlete and you're comparing it to Ivy League, it's not as good. North Carolina has good financial aid. Virginia has very good financial aid, but not quite as good as the Ivy. So there's different schools that have different ranges from what we offer at Stanford and Harvard and Princeton, which is the best, to where you're at state schools. Indiana probably has a zero financial aid, although you are some there. And then there's academic based financial aid, which if you're a really strong student, University of Georgia offers the Hope Scholarship. Now they don't have a program, but I mean, there's a Hope Scholarship for real good students. I mean, there's different programs all around the country, and it is confusing. And I do laugh when I hear, "Oh, you're so lucky you don't have scholarships." I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Now, what we'll ultimately have at Stanford is the best of both worlds, where we'll have 9.9 full scholarships. We're not there yet. We're ultimately going to get to that point, and financial aid. That's a really powerful combination when you can live in both worlds. And right now you can break it up. Different schools allow you to break up the scholarships in different manners. So if, let's say you have 5 scholarships, you have a kid who gets a certain amount of financial aid, you can give them some scholarship, goose them a little bit. At Stanford, it's a little bit more confusing than that. You can't just break it up like you want, but you can do a little bit of that. But yeah, so that probably didn't help you a whole lot. Probably confused your audience more than it enlightened them.
Well, but I don't think it's something that can be just distilled down in a 5-minute thing. Anyways, I thought it was very helpful actually, and just the understanding that it's different at different places is helpful. And I was going to ask about Stanford's, and it's great to hear that it has extra. What is the current scholarship allotment at Stanford?
It's right now it's at 4.5. We have 1 full to give this year. I'm working to get more this year. I'm very optimistic that we will be able to, and we've right now. So we're working with our friends and alumni. Our number one goal is to endow all the coaching positions, which we believe that has already been taken care of, and then I think we've got three more scholarships endowed, just to give you a rough idea where you're going. And it's not a cheap proposition. The head coaching salary is a $5 million endowment. Each assistant coach is $2 million. What's unique in Stanford is they're actually offering a matching gift for a certain endowment levels of giving. So at $500,000 or above, it's a 1-for-1. I mean, this might not mean a lot to people on here, but those who understand, the whole philanthropy world, there's very seldom does the university actually match a gift, and it never happened when I was at Cornell. So to get that type of opportunity, I feel like a kid in a candy store. You can, and the Stanford alumni are obviously very, very generous, but also incredibly successful. So I'm quite confident by the end of this year we're going to be in a really good position.
Well, that's extremely encouraging. I couple questions. What are through this last couple weeks, if you become the head coach of Stanford, is it ever strange to you? It's like, do you ever think like, oh yeah, I'm not that coach at Cornell anymore? Like 30 years of your life, 32 maybe. I mean, how strange is that? I haven't done really much of anything for 32 years of my life. I can't imagine just like, boom, this has been my thing, my place, this town, this school. Now, other side of the country, completely different challenge. You ever have to like, wait, I'm not doing that anymore?
Mm-hmm.
No, because I go in every day still. I go in and work out at the Freedman Center with my athletic director. We go. I don't want to encroach on Mike. Mike's creating his own image, and I don't know. I don't feel awkward. Don't feel awkward. The kids are awesome. They're wonderful. Heck, I recruited them all. I coached them all half of them for 4 years, some more. And I'm going to help those guys, and they need jobs. And now I've got 2 Rolodexes. So they actually are in a great situation. And I'll be honest, look, 32 years old. I mean, I'm not 32 years old. I feel like I'm 32 years old. 32 years. I had kind of gotten a little.
Did you steal Kyle Dake's secrets?
I'm a modern day Benjamin Button. So Kyle's in there every day. I mean, it's like who else he has to work out with? So I have to go in there. Give him a different look. But it's I don't feel weird at all. It's beautiful. I look around. I go, God, I'm going to miss this place, but I won't miss it in the winter. But it is awfully nice, and I know every single brick and every stroke of paint is supposed to go, and so and I talk to Mike every day on little things that he's transferring over all the stuff and all the little things that were in my head, not on paper. He needs. Oh, Mike, I forgot to get this one. By the way, you have an account that's worth. Yesterday I was like, oh, I forgot. You have an account worth. It's got like $80,000, and don't forget about because Cornell will find ways to take that money if you. It won't just sit there forever. But yeah, no, I'm really tight with Mike, and we're gonna have recruiting battles, and I'm sure that you'll get pissed off at me, and I'll get pissed off at him. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty loyal to this place.
Yeah, when are you going to start to subtly sabotage Mike Gray and the Cornell team? When does?
Oh, it's already it's already happening. Happening. I put little Stanford stickers in all the wrestlers' lockers.
There you go. Subtle, very very subliminal.
I actually didn't do that. I'm sure that would be an NCAA violation. So no, I'm extremely sensitive to how even when the kids will call me or talk to me, I make sure we don't even talk that way. But the one the bad thing about Stanford is it's very 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 difficult to transfer into, and that's a good thing, because my goal is not to tear something down when I took 32 years to help build up.
Yes, removes that temptation altogether. During your time at Cornell, how much thought or consideration did you give to looking at other schools during that time? I'm sure you were reached out. Obviously, in 2009, the rumor, the thought was you were going to be the man at Penn State until Cale threw his hat in the ring. Was there a element of looking around much at all, or was it pretty much, Cornell all the way?
Every time I wanted a raise, that's how you get a raise, right? I got contacted a good number of times at different places, and although I never actually applied those places, I spoke to the people because people tend to be reactive, and I'm serious about when you say get a raise. That's kind of life, that's how the business world works. People are reactive, and they, in order to keep you don't know what your value is until someone else comes and offers you twice as much. And I'm not saying that happened at Stanford, but I'm saying these other places, next thing you know, I've got a new contract, and so certainly didn't. Some of those I took more seriously than others, just because the idea of playing with scholarships was enticing. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy working with the types of kids that we work with at Cornell and Stanford. Just enjoy it. It's much more stimulating. I love being able to have kids in my room who on bus trips are talking about quantum mechanics and the latest in genetic engineering, and it's just really fun. Or whether it's business or heck, literature. I love that environment. And when I went to school, they talked about girls and wrestling, and that's it. That was what their summer internship was, either wrestling camp or painting a house. And not to knock that, there's value in all those things, but our kids are working in the fall. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do for the summer internship, and they're preparing their resume. And I'm working with these kids to develop their resume throughout their college experience. So it would have been really hard to go from that experience to completely wrestling centric.
How similar?
Not that we can't do both, by the way. I think the two are not mutually exclusive. I do believe you can have both.
Right. How similar are the kids you're recruiting for Stanford that you're recruited at Cornell?
Very, very similar. Yeah, same profile. I think if you had come from a different, I don't want to name a name, but
right.
Let's name a school that doesn't have wrestling. It's Slippery Rock. If you're at Slippery Rock and you go from Slippery Rock to Stanford, I would think you might struggle a little bit in the frustration. And they kept telling me how horrible the admissions is, and oh my God, you're going to hate, So I talked to the guy, and he's giving me the kind of the profile. I go, that's very much like Cornell. We would be able to dip a little bit lower, but they don't have this thing called the academic index. So there's opportunity to go even a little bit lower than Cornell in some cases, although it's going to be seldom will that be the case. I think across the board, the profile is going to be a little bit stronger. But I will say, and this is not a knock on Cornell because it's one of the greatest schools in the world, there is a different level of excitement I've noticed as far as kids who are the parents. I've got a lot more people reaching out to me regarding Stanford than I did at Cornell. I noticed that at Cornell, at Harvard. I mean, when we would say when we recruit against Harvard, I mean, there's people would walk on campus, and there was a certain, they want to tell their friends that it was about the parents. The parents wanted to tell their friends at the country club they're going up to Cambridge to pick up their kid. I mean, it was just Muffy wanted, there's a snob factor, and I took my son to Harvard to take a look at Harvard, and I felt it, so I'm not saying it hit me. It's very prestigious, and Cornell is one of the best schools in the world, but it's not the number one school in the world. And Stanford in some polls is, and Princeton is, and Harvard is. Cornell isn't, and so a little different feel as far as the number of kids we can attract.
You're talking about
one of the things.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben. No,
yeah, one of the things. Obviously, I know Cornell recruits nationwide, and you got Travis Lee from Hawaii. But as I think through a lot of your best guys, it's that Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, kind of right close to Cornell. Was that a focus, just keeping the guys close to home? And are you going to do the same thing at Stanford, or is that just happenstance? You think the Deans, Simaz, Bozak, Real Budos, Kyle Dake, right? They're all kind of that area-ish.
Well, I think you look at Iowa, you could say the same thing for Iowa. There's a reason we recruit those types of kids, and it's not geographic location. It's wrestling excellence, right?
Of course.
So, yeah, that's why we went after those kinds of kids. But generally speaking, kids want to stay reasonably close to home. But I also think that we have an opportunity to really take advantage of there's a dearth of wrestling in the West. There's just not a lot of wrestling out there. And there's certainly no Ivy League school. And I always said, if we can just get the best Ivy League kids at Cornell, we can win nationals. And so Stanford now, you're from California or Oregon or that area, maybe the Oregon doesn't have as good wrestling as Pennsylvania, but all we need is one kid as good as the best kid in Pennsylvania. And that leads to my next statement with comments, which is, our RTC is going to help hopefully attract those types of kids. And speaking of Oregon, Tyler Berger is one of our guys. We stole Tyler from Nebraska. So we got Tyler coming out from Nebraska. We've got Grant Leaf coming out from Missouri. I've got Ben Honus from Cornell. And that's just our first three that we're bringing in. We have the problem with our RTC and California RTC. It's expensive as heck to live there. So we have limited numbers of housing opportunities. And what we're doing, which is unique to the RTC experience, whereas if you go to Cornell or Penn State, they pay you out of the club. We're working with Silicon Valley to get these guys, jobs where when they retire from coaching, if they want to go into coaching, they go into coaching. If they want to go in, and they're going to have a job that when they retire from the sport, they're going to be making six figures or above. And it's going to be it is a different model. There's going to be a little bit more of a work component, but I grew up wrestling at Foxcatcher, and I didn't like that. I mean, for me, guys who would train and then go back and go to sleep and, wake up and train a little more and then go out and, drink beer, do whatever, it was not a healthy lifestyle. I think that you have enough time in your day if you're organized, and that's the kind of person I want working with our Stanford guys. So those are our first three athletes. They're fantastic athletes. We still have to bring in our volunteer assistant. I'm working on that right now. And I'm sure he'll be a very recognizable name. And then we have space for about three more RTC guys right now because the housing is limited, but it's beautiful housing. So if guys are interested, it's a little advertising. If you're interested in a fantastic career and a future, perhaps outside of wrestling, but you can always stay in wrestling, we're gonna give you that opportunity, and that's something that we can offer at Stanford that almost no other school can offer. It's just amazing the economic opportunities we're going to provide our student athletes as well as our RTC athletes, and that's something I couldn't do at Cornell. Is Ben Honest graduates, he would have loved to have stayed in Ithaca, but it's very, very hard. Oh, actually, it's a bad example because I had one of our alumni actually did offer him a job, but I can't offer 5 or 10 of those, and Palo Alto, that's that San Francisco and San Jose area is so large and so vibrant that we can put 10 guys in there, and so we're looking for intelligent and kids who are intelligent, who have good, looking a little bit past wrestling, perhaps. If not, you can always go back into the sport. So our doors are open. So there it is, Ben, ready to make a comeback.
Yeah, come on, Ben.
That's an awesome sales pitch, and I love what you said about. Because I always felt this way about MMA. Is when I was doing it, there's so many guys who just train twice a day and they do nothing else. And it's like, me, I was building my wrestling academy, so when I decided to retire, I have something to go to. But I always feel like you should be filling your time with building another skill. And so that's such a cool opportunity for those guys, because you're right, that San Francisco, San Jose, that area, man, there's so many opportunities for smart kids. I know Grant Leith, he's really, really smart. I'm sure he's going to find some great opportunities for himself right away.
Yeah, that's huge.
I was a full-time coach. I competed as a head coach for a couple of years. I didn't make enough money at Cornell to not compete, so it was rough. But I found plenty of time to train, and I made a world team. And maybe I could have done better, but I also had Dave Schultz and Kenny Monday to compete with. So
it's messed up.
Although I was able to beat him occasionally, I didn't beat him as much. I didn't beat him enough, and I don't think if I'd gone full time that would have changed. But I was honing my resume and my wrestling coaching skills the whole time, and I actually was more passionate about coaching anyway, so I knew what I was going to go into.
What's the plan for are you going to have an RTC coach? Is one of your staff members going to run the RTC? What's that going to look like?
So I bring in Kerry McCoy's out there also, and then I bring in Ahad, my boy Ahad.
Oh yeah.
I hope you do. At least he's been in Cornell for many years, and so I'll have that Greco expertise as well. And we've made a living off of bringing in the best 1 or 2 really high level Greco guys who are also great folk style wrestlers each year. And if you get 1 more wrestler a year, that's a huge for impact for recruiting. And I'm quite confident that he's going to help me in that area. Travis Lee, you mentioned Travis Lee. Travis Lee, ironically, works about 12 minutes from Stanford's campus. So I've already talked to Travis. He's fired up. He's going to be on board helping us out. Not just he's 37 years old, and I guarantee he's going to whip a lot of guys in our room. But as far as his technique, I don't think there was a guy that we've ever had outside of Kyle Dekignani who was technically more proficient. So I'm really excited to get Travis in there. Like, I talked to Jason Welch over at San Francisco. I was like, Jason, I would love it. He's like, geez, I would love to be involved. And so that's one thing I pride myself on is getting those people excited about my dream and making it their dream, and what a resource. I could get a guy like Jason to come and help us out just a little bit. And then I've got John J. Chavez, who lives in the area, who's going to come and start training with us as well. So we've got all these people, really, that there's a great deal of synergy. And I don't sleep anymore. I get up, my brain is working so much. I haven't had that experience for quite some time, and that's what I needed. I'm too young to become complacent.
That's incredible. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, what does Travis Lee do? Because he was a guy who obviously shot up like a rocket and started him in the wrestling world, and then when he left, and we kind of haven't heard from him or seen him since. Obviously, as you mentioned, he's fairly brilliant. I'm sure he's doing something successful. I'm just curious what it is.
Yeah, he was a biological engineer, and he's more into the business aspects of engineering right now. So I'm not sure what part of the company he's running, but I know he's doing quite well. He was working more of a judo and some MMA stuff. He was playing. He wasn't competing. Yeah. He actually hurt his neck and retired. He didn't just disappear. He actually was over in Ukraine and got thrown on his head, and he had a little bit of a neck problem before, but he's got to be. That's all healed up, and he's ready to make his comeback.
37. That's great. Well, so you
That's
talked
not
about
that
that.
old.
No way. Shoot. You've been talking about like the dream, the vision. What is the dream and vision that you're pitching that has you excited and that you're using to get other people excited about Stanford?
So things that we're going to do, like right now, I'm planning. I haven't got this approved yet, but I've got Oklahoma State coming out for our first match, and my goal is to set a new attendance record. I want to, I've already got a group of people ready to help me blow this thing out. The question is, do we try to get Stanford to let us use the football field and break Iowa's record, or do we just sell out the regular facility? But when you look at, and so I did a little research yesterday, within driving distance, 2.5 hours, there's about 50,000 wrestlers. I don't think there's not another place in the country. There's not another place in the world that has that type of spectator base. That's what gets me fired up. At Cornell, we have 100,000 people in the entire county. It takes 3 hours to drive from one side of the county to the other. It's that big. You got 100,000, and that's not an exaggeration. That literally is how big it is. Ithaca has 25,000 people. You've got a decent sized college population, but they'd rather be in the library than at a wrestling match. And so you really got to focus on that wrestling. And I found it's a lot easier to make a wrestler a Cornell wrestling fan, or in this case, a Stanford wrestling fan, than it is to get a student to become a wrestling fan. And so my marketing has always been on wrestlers and wrestling families. And that's what it's going to be when we go to Stanford and we blow it out. One of the other pushes is I want to sell season tickets. I want to sell tickets. They give it away. Well, hell, if you give it away, there's no value associated with it. I'm a huge proponent of selling tickets. Some people say, well, give it away, more people will come. No, I don't think that's the case. It doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, it's certainly the NCAAs have no problem selling tickets, and they charge a lot. I'm not saying you charge an exorbitant sum, but I think I know at Cornell, our season ticket holders, there's a pride in having a season ticket. There's pride in it. We had a waiting list, they want to upgrade the better seats. It only holds, we'll sell 300 of them, but it makes a difference. And if we have one sellout, or if we sell 8,000 tickets at $20 a pop, you can do the numbers. It doesn't take long to make an economic impact. And if people think Stanford has a lot of money, Stanford is like every other school. Each little department is its own little fiefdom. You've got maybe the physics department is flush, and the romantic language has nothing, and the sand volleyball may have everything, and the crew team has nothing. And that's how it is at Cornell as well. The wrestling team has a lot of resources, and the fencing team has very little. So if we can show that we can, our first year back, program was cut last year. All of a sudden now we're making $250,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 a year just on ticket revenue. Wow, that's a pretty big statement. And I'm sure Stanford, I've looked at the numbers. You've got obviously football and basketball and women's basketball. Probably makes as much as men's, and the probably baseball, I'm guessing, makes some money. But I want to be one of those. I want to be a top three. I want to be after basketball and football. That's where I want to be able to settle in, and that's my goal. And we ultimately will achieve that goal.
Obviously, a year ago, Stanford administration, whatever, they pulled some serious shenanigans dropping the program. How confident are you in Stanford's leadership and the long-term, presence for the program?
Well, if you look across outside of Fresno, which was a unique situation, let's see. I'm trying to think of all the schools that dropped the programs, and then Old Dominion didn't do so well either. But almost all of them got brought back with Dartmouth and Brown and now Stanford, and they found it was not a good option for those types of schools, because you've got a whole bunch of alumni who now you're actually losing money to try to save money. People have been incredibly supportive of me. Are the associate AD who I'm working with, Jamie Breslin, I speak to him a couple times a week. Our AD has called me already, talking about what we're doing with fundraising, where we want to go. I've already told him my goals are. I wouldn't have gone there if I wasn't quite confident of the direction that the program's going. And quite often, or almost always, when programs get brought back, they come back bigger and stronger, and they don't make the same mistakes you did in the past. Our endowment, I think, was $700,000 at a school like Stanford with the types of people that we have. in place, that's not sufficient, obviously. And I understand that there were limitations on how people could give, and it was all going to the Cardinal Club and dispersed. But there are certainly programmatic ways of endowment as well, and that's kind of like I say, that's if you build my resume around a job that you think I would fit for, this is it. This is my sprint. And you say, how long are you going to be there? I don't know. I've got a 4-year contract. I might be there 10 years. I might be there 12. But I've got a lot of energy, and this is really exciting for me. So the person who takes over after me is going to inherit a program that I believe will be a dynasty for that person, for sure.
That's awesome. You refer to, I've heard you refer to your energy, just how you're feeling. Why don't you give some advice? How have you been able to maintain feeling youthful? Not that you're old, obviously, but you're feeling good. Yeah, a lot of people are thinking, okay, because remember a couple years ago, it's like, all right, eventually Rob will retire and then Kyle's going to take over, or Damien, or whatever. And it's very obvious you're not going to be out of the sport anytime soon.
That's true. In fact, that was a statement. That wasn't a question.
Yeah, you're right.
What was your question?
I think he said at the beginning. I think he said, "What secrets are you doing that is making you?"
A lot of caffeine. A lot of caffeine, buddy.
No, don't say that.
I get it. Yeah, I drink a lot of caffeine. Hey, I work out. I'm leaner than I was when in college, probably. So I weigh the same amount. I make sure I weigh under 100. I was at 205. I'm like, what the hell? I looked like Ben Askren before his last fight. I mean, God damn.
I'm only 196. I got on the scale yesterday. I'm working out with these college guys, getting a little skinnier.
So I've been working out religiously. I make sure I weigh under 180 every day. Yesterday I had to lose a lot of weight in the sauna, but I did it. I mean, I set a goal and I make sure I reach it.
Whoa,
I think that's helped me.
You have to weigh in every single day, Rob?
Every day. Got to make it.
So you're cutting that water weight every day.
Hell yeah.
Idea.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I sauna.
What did you wrestle
every day. I whirlpool every day.
158?
Wait. 58, that was ridiculous. I weighed like 90s in college, and my coach cut me down to 58. 51 year. I remember I was like, what the hell? I just cut 40 pounds. And I wasn't fat. And so if internationally I wrestled 163, I'd cut from 80. So that's where I am. I figured, you know what, that's where I need to be. And I'm pretty lean, and I feel a lot better. So my back doesn't hurt anymore. I'm ready to roll. I can actually wrestle, believe it or not. Not great, not awesome. Well, but I still wrestle. So,
can I tell a funny story, Rob?
Hit me.
You and I wrestled one time. I don't know if you even remember this.
You were up in Ithaca.
No,
he was in Ithaca.
I think.
Yeah, you were in Ithaca.
Are you sure? Okay. Well, I remember we wrestled 100%. One time, and kids always ask me, like, do techniques transfer over time? And I said, listen, I didn't wrestle with too many old dudes, but one time I wrestled with Rob Koll. He was doing all these funny moves on me, but he was so freaking good that they were working. And I'm like, how, this is when I was in my prime, essentially. And I'm like, Rob Koll is doing all these weird elbow grabs, and they're all working, and I don't really know how.
They worked over time. Are we at nationals?
I think it was you and I. No, I think it was you and I at National Duels is what I think. Anyway, all your moves worked. All your moves worked.
Well, I watched. To be fair, I've watched myself wrestle on video, and I don't. You look at some of the old timers, like they don't look. I watched my match against somebody. Sent me a match against Schultz. By the way, the guy is screaming is Dave Schultz. It's not me. Yeah. Please, it's so not funny. Me. Dave would always do that. I always tell people Dave was like a tennis player. He would. And it looks like I'm screaming when he's ankle lacing. I should have, but I had more pride than that. But I'm watching that match. I'm like, I look like I wrestled, today. I have a nice single, nice foot sweeps. And I don't know. I don't think I look ancient, but I think that's because I kept wrestling and coaching a long time. Some of the guys, they bounce around and they jump at you. But no, I can still defend. I can still hit shots. I just can't finish shots. My shoulders are not in great shape, but I can hit a nice lefty high crotch. I can still do a lot of stuff. and I've maintained my strength and flexibility. I just have zero speed. I just you see me coming, and I can't finish them. So,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna come back there.
Heck yeah. You were I've heard multiple stories about how you would get in there and mix it up or try to mix it up with Dake, or I think the story was Gabe Dean wasn't given Kyle the right look, and you're like, look out, Gabe, and let me show you how it's done. And you kind of like, I don't know, maybe that was like
it was against it. We were getting Kyle ready for Derringer.
Yeah,
and Derringer was a heavy left leg lead, and Gabe was just getting blown off his feet. I'm like, God dang it. You got to want a job done right. Do it yourself, right? So I get out there, and he wham, boom. Like, all right, now it's real. Now it's on. Wham, boom. I'm like, all right, now it's really on. And then the third time he did a little extra hard, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna break something. And it was embarrassing. But that was Kyle. One, I'm a heavy right leg lead, and so I was giving myself a huge disadvantage. Two, he's really friggin' good and explosive, and he would be my absolute kryptonite, because the speed, that speed and strength combined, he's just, it's not really fair. Usually, you have a guy who's super flexible, Kendall Cross, or he's got Ben could go, had a huge gas tank, and he had flexibility, was funky, but you had strength, but this guy has. You had more of a bone-crushing strength, Ben. I remember you were really strong, but you didn't have that quick twitch, explosive strength. No. He's got that quick twitch, explosive strength, plus he's got the flexibility. The one thing people say, he gets tired. He looks like he's tired, but he never stops. It's just weird, I mean, he shows fatigue, but it's just how he breathes. He doesn't wrestle like he's fatigued, and it's not fair. You shouldn't be able to do all those things. Have all that at once.
Kyle Dake's someone that's been in your life for, before he stepped foot on campus at Cornell. You coached with his father, I believe. Your father, Doug, was on staff with you, and so you've known Kyle for most of his life, I would say. How tough was it, or is it, to now you're going to be at Stanford? This is going to be kind of a culminating moment potentially, and I think likely this summer at Tokyo for Kyle. How tough is it to kind of be away from him?
Oh, I've handed Kyle off to Mike a year and a half ago, 2 years. I haven't actively been coached. I mean, I'll go and say, hey, Kyle, I think you do this or whatever. But I mean, run a room. But as far as the active coaching, Kyle's his own best coach, to be honest with you. He's very creative. He's probably the most creative wrestler in the country right now. And he's transformative. You watch how he wrestles now versus a year, 2, 3, 4 ago. He has evolved a style and an approach, and so it makes it really hard to scout him. Because he can do everything. Although he certainly has certain fallbacks, and one is just ungodly, unparalleled athleticism. Which you can do anything if you have his athleticism. That's a nice thing with Kyle, but his position is much better now. He matches his heights better. He doesn't give his legs up as easily, and he only gives, if you get to his legs, he's going to let you get to a position where he's going to have an advantage. So people are terrified to shoot on him, and rightfully so, because I've never seen a better chest wrap than what he does. In wrestling. You're going to get, it's unreal. I mean, he can lift probably chest wrap 400 pounds. So it's like, how you can't hold on to the mat and stop it. It's just very, very hard. And he can force these positions in it. And it's he's hard to, I mean, the best way to wrestle Kyle is to avoid him. You just avoid it, and try to steal a match at the end, because I don't see any other way of beating him.
So you're very confident going into Tokyo he's going to be the Olympic champion?
I'm confident he is the best guy, but the best guy doesn't always win.
Yeah.
That's why they wrestle the matches, right? I mean, time will tell. It's up to him. I mean, he's got to stay healthy, which he's doing a great job of that. And he's going to be ready. There's no doubt about it. He's ready right now. He's leaned up a little bit more, although he does owe me some wings. We're going to go out and get some wings before I leave town. Big time me the other day. We're supposed to go out and get some. So I'm a big wing guy, man. I hope that's okay. I mean, I know it's not on the training regimen of Askren training regimen, but it's big on mine.
You get to eat whatever you want on my training regimen.
Okay, good.
Hey, let me ask you. I want to take a step back to 2 comments ago. You said Kyle's the I don't know if you said most creative or most intelligent wrestling mind. And so someone else in your room, Yanni, I have had him in for camp, and obviously we talked through wrestling positions, and he's one of the very few people from an intellectual standpoint where I've said, oh my God, like I really got to try to follow what it's not just like, oh yeah, I already knew that. Yanni's like, oh my gosh, what's he saying? What's he doing? So are those two, did they work together? Did they bounce ideas off each other? And where would you put them? Same level? Yanni's the, up and coming, or just as far as intellectual capacity for wrestling?
That's an interesting question. I actually think, and this is, Kyle's going to get pissed at me, but I actually think Yanni might be a better, just a technical wrestler, because he has to be. He doesn't have Kyle's athleticism. He doesn't have the skills that Kyle can rely on. So he has had to become more technical. I tell you who's one of the best is Yanni's father. The guy he's got a brilliant wrestling.
Smart.
Hate to give him this credit, but he spends just disproportionate amount of his life watching videos from any different part of the world. Although now he's into golf, but yeah, he's and Vito is a little bit more like Kyle, but what he does better than anyone. So in that room, it's a really special combination of wrestlers.
When you've coached a lot of really great wrestlers, you've had multiple national champions. Kyle, obviously the best wrestler you've coached, and you talked about how he's his own best coach. And I feel like that's something I've heard about some other wrestlers. Like at some point, they're completely taking over their training. Does that, in your experience, you've been around a lot of great ones, is that a common thread with them, or can some of them just like have a traditional coach-athlete relationship where that coach is just like running their day and their training and they end up reaching incredible heights? Or do you think in wrestling you have to get to this Kyle Dake level where you're more or less owning every aspect?
I think they all have that. They have more interplay or interaction as far as how they do things, but everyone I've had doesn't want to have to worry about what they're doing in practice. They want to come into practice and they want to be told what to do. They want to go on a trip and they want to know that everything's going to be in its proper place. And that's what a coach does at that point in time. He runs the room, he runs his practice, he keeps things organized, he makes sure those guys are jumping in on Kyle, doing those things. You don't want to do that. When you're at that level, you just want to show up and wrestle. And it's a little bit mindless. And then afterwards, practice, he becomes very, very introspective and figures out, they'll work on things. And he does that when he's drilling. The actual running of the practice, Kyle has nothing to do with that. But you've got myself, but Mike certainly, and we know what he needs and what he wants to do. So that's through talking to Kyle, and you got to be careful. He's not back when I was wrestling, 28 years old. I mean, that literally was, you're just getting going. I mean, we used to wrestle a bit longer. I think probably because you didn't wrestle as early. When I was growing up, I started wrestling when I was in 5th grade, but really didn't start until I was 7th grade. And so nowadays the kids start when they're in kindergarten and they go hard. And I think you've only got so many high crotches and double legs in your body. And I do think that people break down a little earlier because the competition is so intense so early. And Kyle is fortunate that he is getting younger to some degree. I mean, but it's because he takes so good care of his body. That's his economic engine, and so he needs to make sure he takes care of it. But I think a lot of it it's a combination. Kyle is very aware of what he does, and he knows how to pull back, and he won't do certain things. He won't overtrain. I would like him to train sometimes a little bit harder, but as I said, he knows where he's at, and ultimately I know at the end of the day he's going to be right where he needs to be, because there's nothing. He's got a singular focus on winning the Olympic gold, like nobody I've ever seen before. Of course, I've never had anybody at this level before, so maybe that's what Jordan Burroughs was probably like as well. I think they're very, very similar. They're much more similar than dissimilar, from what I know.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that I would definitely agree with. Switching gears for sure here. A lot of discussion about this. How big of a deal is name, image, and likeness? What's your personal opinion or your thoughts about it? Obviously, it's in its very early stages.
Yeah, it's huge, and it could be huge for a place like Stanford. My first blush I feel like the school itself, if the NCAA decides to let each school mandate or play it how they want to play it, I think Stanford would probably not want all their athletes going out and signing private contracts. I'm sure they wouldn't. But at a school like Stanford, you have, I think, 46. I think it was like 46 Olympians from Stanford. I mean, some insane number because they're great in every of these smaller sports. They win the Directors Cup every single year, and they have the Silicon Valley money right there with a lot of alumni wanting to win championships. So a place like Stanford, my God, and Cornell. I mean, we've got people lined up ready to do this, literally ready to do this, if it is legal. But then, of course, it's not wrestling is a minor sport compared to what the doors are going to open to football. When you can imagine what Alabama's going to do with their Penn State's going to do. It's I think it's really, really bad for non-revenue sports. I think it's going to drain a lot of endorsement money from, like, if I'm Nike, why would I worry about signing a school when I really just want to cherry pick the elite athletes? That's because that's what people care about. They don't care about some third string kicker on Penn State. They want to have the running back wearing their stuff, and they probably prefer that everybody else wore something else, and the best players wore Nike.
Yeah. Well, can I push back on that, Rob? Because that's something I talked about yesterday. Is obviously right now Nike has a contract with the entire school, everyone on the football program. So and then the colleges have the ability to nix deals. So I feel like, as with the UFC, you can't wear it was non-Reebok, now it's Venom, in cage or on fight week. So will schools have the ability to say, yes, you can be sponsored by whoever you want, but during this time period, say prior to a game and after a game and in practice, you cannot wear any of that gear? Or will those things be piecemealed off? Because to your point, if they are, the contract to the school is worth an insane amount less. So I feel like the schools are not going to give that most valuable real estate up.
I see what you're saying. I just don't think in this political climate you're going to tell some kid from Flint, Michigan, who's come up through the ranks, worked his way up playing basketball, and he has no mother and father, and he has the ability to sign a contract and make some money, and you're saying, well, no, you can't do that. It's going to be really hard for these schools to say no to those kids. And I think,
well, don't you think they're going to say yes, but you can't have in-game real estate on your uniform or whatever?
And it's a slippery slope. I tell you, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits out there, and it's going to be ugly. And I just don't think I don't think it's a positive thing for sports like wrestling, because we're the trickle down and all that. If the schools lose all that institutional money, that hurts the little guy more than hurts the big guy, right? Because the last people that are going to feel that pinch is football or basketball. It's going to be sports like wrestling that are going to get hammered a little bit. It won't hurt Cornell. I mean, I think our entire Nike contract's like $150,000 for the whole school. We have 37 teams. A school like Stanford, Stanford is obviously a different story. It's a much larger contract than that. But yeah, I don't know. And I tell you what, people are lining up. I know got people who are ready to sign Yanni and Vito right now. So it's not just, and now you multiply that by every single sport across the spectrum, and it's a good Lord to be a compliance officer right now. Oh, it'd be horrible. How are you going to police it? I mean, and then you're going to have to, every single one is, you're going to have to, I mean, it has to be, are you really paying for the true value of the athlete? Who's going to value what a wrestler is worth versus a fencer? If you're a fencing team and you've got a billionaire donor who wants to sign every kid to whatever contract, who's to say what the value of, who's going to put that value on a fencer versus a wrestler versus a football player versus, I mean, how do you figure out that marketability? I will say right now, if you're a young athlete and you don't have an Instagram or a Twitter account or TikTok or whatever, you're missing the boat, because that is one way of valuing your true value. Kyle has 250,000 Instagram followers, I believe. Yanni has 100,000 plus, whatever. They actually have a system of actually figuring out how much that is worth per tweet. It's per post. It's pretty interesting. My 3,100, might buy me a cup of coffee once a week, but these guys have real value. And if and that's the tip of the iceberg. There's some athletes probably have millions, or not millions, but certainly.
Yeah.
And now you have somebody in each school is going to, you have social media coaches, do you bring them in and you teach them how to increase value?
Yeah.
It's a business. Someone should be out there making, probably is. I mean, there should be lawyers out there or professionals having school for these guys. You could probably charge them. How do you do these things and create a online business to increase, to monetize their value? I mean, it's just going to go off in a million different ways. And hell, I'm not.
Now you got me all excited about what this is going to turn into, because we've been talking about the last couple of days. But yeah, I think institutions should have departments which help athletes read over contracts, help figure out how to maximize their own value. And because if one institution is able to do that really well, and they're saying, hey, we can help you do this. Look how much we've made X, Y, and Z earn. Then that's going to help them recruit, which is hilarious because Bray said the NCAA is saying this will not help recruiting at all.
Yeah, that's their goal.
It will help recruiting for those who do it, right? I mean, I'm already preparing.
These laws are getting passed state by state, and it looks like California. Originally, it was supposed to take effect January 1, 2023, but there's a proposal that as of September 1st, name, image, likeness laws could be in place in California. What are the conversations like in California and at Stanford specifically about, I mean, you said you're already getting ready. What's the institution doing to kind of get ready for this?
I actually talked to my new compliance officer about it, and she shuddered. She's like, "Oh my God." It's just, you're gonna have to have a whole another department dealing with this type of stuff, because we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about millions. You have how many thousand? We have 36 sports, and there's a Yanni Diakomahalis in pretty much every one of them. Yeah, at Stanford. So how do you manage that? And then how do you manage the alumni? Putting their stamp of goosing. If you have Stanford alumni running Google, and I don't know, I know they're not. I don't know who's running Google, but Google and executives at Facebook and all and all these different corporations that are obviously flush versus Iowa, where you've got a car dealership or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to mock it, but I mean,
what a bully.
There is that type of difference in financial ability is unleash that on the NCAA, and it's, God Lord, now I don't know. I guess it's like that anywhere anyway. Certain teams dominate for environmental reasons. It'll just be the next logical step in evolution of sports of haves and have-nots.
Yeah, and I think that's been one of the major concerns. Excuse me, for wrestling fans is, is this going to create a more of a, or I guess would it create less parity among wrestling? And it seems like you think that it could or will.
I think it will. I mean, there's reasons why Penn State is winning. If you look at their endowment for their regional training center, I think it's $9 million right now. I mean, we had gotten ours up to about, probably in net assets, probably 1.6, and we're undoubtedly I'm sure we're number 2, and we're, good Lord, they're almost 10 times, well, not 10 times, but 6-7 times what we have, and so it's crazy. But what is no different? Stanford's got a $30 billion endowment. Some of these other schools have a couple $100,000 endowment, or millions of a billion. Cornell's got $8 or $9 billion, and we have almost half the students that Cornell has. So that would technically say we have almost a $60 billion endowment versus a $8 billion endowment. So, I mean, it's already in play. Certain schools have a lot of money and other schools don't. So this is, pretty much par for the course. And 5 years from now, we'll be looking back thinking, oh, it was going to be such a big deal. It probably wasn't such a big deal, because the same schools are going to be winning, I think.
Shane Griffith recently put out officially on Instagram he was going to be coming back. How huge is that? How excited are you to coach Shane Griffith?
Well, that's the thing I'm thankful for. It's not at Stanford. It's people like, oh my God, you got to rebuild the whole team. I don't have to rebuild the whole team. The coaches who came before us actually had a real solid nucleus of wrestlers. You've got Jay Nabis and Real Woods and Shane are obviously the three highest profile guys, but there's a good core. Every weight we have a good solid wrestler, and I was actually surprised at how tough, because I don't follow Stanford. It's out of sight, out of mind, but they have a really nice team, and after our first match, we're flying out to Cornell, and we're going to open up the Friedman Center. So on November 20th, we're going to wrestle Cornell at Cornell, their home duel in the new Friedman Center. And I look forward to being heckled.
That's great. That's great. Well, I could go on, but I feel like you've been very generous with your time, Coach. So I don't want to keep you. I'm sure it's a big week with you going. But do you have anything else before we let you go?
Yeah, everybody's writing to me. It's Cardinal, not Cardinals. Hello.
Right.
There's no S in Cardinal. That's my first letter to my. I was emailing the AD, and I used the word something about you're the Cardinals. He's like, there's no damn S in Cardinals. I was like, all right, great first impression.
Yeah.
So now I correct everybody and make myself feel really superior.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that took me several years to understand that they are the Cardinal, not the Cardinals, which makes sense because I was like, well, why are they the Cardinals, but they're a tree? I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Not that the tree makes much more sense if they're Cardinal. Maybe can you explain the tree?
It's a redwood.
Okay,
We're the redwood forest. It's a big redwood. It's a beautiful tree. I love that tree.
So it's a Cardinal. Your favorite.
The Cardinal is, by the way, a Cardinal. By the way, is a color.
Right. Right. I knew that, but then it was, the tree is a coniferous, it appears, green tree. So, but I guess redwoods, Cardinal, maybe that's how we're putting it all together. This show has officially jumped the shark. I have
Cardinal red. You've heard of Cardinal red?
Yeah. I'm not a UNC educated man. I haven't spent my time around academia like you, Coach. So I'm a little behind on most things. But I very appreciative of you coming on and look forward to following you. Hopefully we can be out at your Oklahoma State duels and kind of be along for the ride because we're obviously excited what's going on at Stanford.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Coach. Have a good day and good luck with the move. And keep us posted on any other staff, or we'll definitely have our eyes open to see who you are bringing out there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks. See you, Coach.
See you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. Rob Koll, busy guy. Big week for him. Excited to see what they've got going on there. So he announced Tyler Berger, Grant Leith, Ben Hannes, or as FRL listeners know him as Ben Hannes Green Ellis. Mm-hmm. Called him that for a while. He's going to they're going to be joining the RTC. Sounds like Coach McCoy is staying at the California RTC.
Yeah, that was the wording of that was kind of strange, huh?
Yeah, I don't want to press there, but I think that's what
sounds like he's staying.
Yeah, sounds like he's staying. Sounds like he's staying, and they're still yet to announce their volunteer assistant coach. So kind of gonna wait and see on that. But man, I could have talked to him for even longer than that.
That was a lot of fun.
I kind of wanted to ask him more about the Penn State situation in 2009, but then I was like, maybe that'll be another interview another time. Yeah. Not today. Okay. Well, it's 9:30. Holy cow.
He did talk about getting younger a whole bunch of times, huh? I mean, you even brought up that he brought it up so many times.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like Kyle Digg talking about it, and they say he's like full of crap or misinformation or whatever. Like all he talks about is drinking a lot of water, eating the right foods, doing the right exercises. I don't really see what the issue is.
Yeah,
Sounds like a great idea.
Well, most of it I think logically makes a ton of sense. Like you said, drink water, go outside, be outside. That is a good thing. I don't understand the barefoot
hatred. There is a lot of hatred about.
Oh, well, I think people don't understand. I think it comes from one. I don't know if ignorance is the word, but it's maybe not a full understanding. Two, but I don't want to make it sound like, because I think that's part of the problem is like, oh, they're ignorant. Is the way Kyle is so sure of himself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're so sure of yourself about something that, if you're someone that doesn't really understand it, like, wait, you're so sure, but that can kind of rub people the wrong way a little bit too. How confident he is, but then the proof, as they say, is in the pudding.
Also, the term "getting younger" is just not. That's not an accurate term. Like, but when,
I've actually listened to this podcast.
Well, I heard him explain like the whatever the like aging factor or whatever the other term is. Like that's the accurate term. But like actually getting younger, like that's what people balk at. It's like, no, you were still born on one date, and every day past that is. I mean, that's just basic math. Right?
I'm listening to this. It made me think of what I was already thinking about it last night because I started watching this. Playing the Rogan podcast is a very recent one. I'll find the guy's name, but he was David Sinclair, and he was talking about it got a kind of anti-aging technology. But his company's putting out a mouse swab test where you can test essentially what your biological age is, and he's talking about a lot of similar things to Kyle. Great diet, exercise, etc., sleep, etc., etc., etc. It's awesome.
Well, there's certainly things you can do that can make you the process of aging slower and just overall have a better, healthier, longer, theoretically longer life. So that all makes sense to me. But yeah, let us know what you learned, Ben. If you got it. If you begin your process here. Okay. Questions. Let's get to them. From Actual Cannibal. We now know that Ben is an autistic wrestling savant. If you had these same sort of abilities, what skill would you choose to be able to apply them to? Honestly, I think I would have loved more than anything to be able to pour myself into coaching in that way in wrestling. That was for me like the most fun thing ever, getting to learn that and do that. And I wish I was I love
coaching too, Christian. So much fun.
It is so fun. It is so fun. I was like, it's like almost like the Danaher template. Like you've got this guy like Danaher. I think what helps someone like him is like he has this singular focus, right? He's like, this is all I care about. All he cares about is like jiu-jitsu and like ancient katanas. So like he has this literally that's like his only interest. So
he got a sword room or what?
Oh, he's got swords, and like if they win a major tournament, he gives them he gave Gordon Ryan some sword that like apparently could like chop a horse in half. It's like from like feudal Japan or something. I don't know. So yeah, he's a big sword guy, big jiu-jitsu guy. So I was obviously Danaher didn't have the jiu-jitsu accolades as a competitor, but he was able to he's one of the most revered coaches in the game despite that. So I think I would love to have been able to do that. Not that I think being autistic would have made that a possibility, but if I could have just gone all in on one thing, that seems like the most fun. Coaching is awesome. David?
I mean, dude, just wrestling.
Just wrestling.
It would have been competing. It would have been, those things. But I did get distracted because Mark Zuckerberg's been posting videos of his new weapon skills. He's trying to learn how to use swords and
oh, really?
Yeah.
For real?
Should we be nervous about a combat trained Mark Zuckerberg?
No, he is like it's just like ultimate like nerd level like imagine somebody like Mark Zuckerberg like wielding swords and stuff. It's exactly what you expect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. Okay, this is just the autistic show, I guess. Because I like this one from Stringer's Burger Phone. I don't know why he put friend in quotation marks here, but it's okay. He said, my friend is an autism expert. He says that after meeting Ben in person, that he's definitely on the spectrum. Actually, many wrestlers at all levels he has met have autistic qualities. Is wrestling a sport that is a good fit for people with autism spectrum?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think the answer is probably. I think it makes sense, yes, because it is so individually focused, right? You don't have to worry about how you fit in the overall scheme. It's just like, what are you doing, right? You're able to just kind of solely focus on yourself and what you need to address. So that's why I would probably say yes, as a not autism expert, but what little knowledge I have about it. That is my opinion.
That's a good one.
Ben Askren often has great stories about Coach Horton, Coach Bart Horton, of course. What's the best one?
Oh my gosh, Coach Horton, he's the best. What is the best story about Coach Horton? I'm not gonna get the best one because I don't have time to prepare for the best one.
Got
it. Okay, first one that came to my mind about Coach Horton. One time, I really wanted to go back and watch my brother wrestle and win a state title in Wisconsin. So I got to go back for the high school state championships. But obviously, it was like, I don't know, a week, 10 days before the Big 12s. And so they're like, well, we need you still training. And I'm like, of course I'm going to still train. So they're like, you know what, we're going to send Coach Horton with you because maybe he can scope out some recruits and you guys can train together. And I said, okay, awesome. I love Coach Horton. That'll be tremendous. So we got to go back to Wisconsin State Tournament. And we're going back. We're on some back road in Iowa. And we're behind all these cars. And they're going so slow. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, I can't pass. There's a bunch of cars over here. And he goes, Ben, go on the right side. Like, don't be a wimp. Go on the shoulder and pass all these cars like in the dirt. And I'm like, you really think I should do that? He's like, yeah, freaking do it. And I hit it, passed them all. It was tremendous. And that was just like, he was so much fun. He encouraged me to do dumb stuff. I loved it.
Oh my gosh. That's a good one. Yeah, that is a temptation for sure. The right side pass. As someone who tends to err on the side of speeding than not speeding, I can't say I've ever done it, but I've thought about it multiple times.
Oh, did I ever tell you a story about where the hand fight? Another good Coach Horton story. One time, I think it was Jeff Faust and Dante Stone is who I think it was. Jeff Faust is a Big 12 champs. Dante was an NCAA qualifier. And, I might have told this story before, but sometimes fights start in rooms, wrestling rooms. People get mad. And it was over Christmas break, so there's extra tension because you're so bored because there's no one else on campus or nothing to do. And all of a sudden, Faust and Dante start fighting. And, obviously most times people break them up. And Coach Horton's like, nope, let them fight. At least they're working hard because they haven't been doing it all practice. And then sure enough, these dudes just stopped fighting and just started wrestling again. It was hilarious.
Really? They just slowly transitioned?
Like, crap, no one's going to break us up. Okay, we'll just start wrestling again.
Oh, man. Do fights ever break out at AWA?
Minimal, not a lot.
How intense is the room?
The intensity level recently has been outstanding. We're getting ready for Fargo. It's awesome. Really, really enjoy it. Guys are working their ass off.
Yeah. Kind of realize I've never seen you or I don't even know if I've seen video of you. I've seen you teach literally probably hundreds of moves, but I don't know if I've ever seen you run a practice. I think that's something I'd like to see.
Flo can send someone up here. We can make a weekend of it.
All right.
We got an awesome prep camp this weekend. We have guys from all of our academies coming in for prep camp Friday night, 2 sessions on Saturday and 1 session on Sunday. So a lot of good kids in the room. It's going to be awesome. Really excited for it.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Okay, from Matt Smith at PSU Wrestling Fan. Do you think Koll will have a bigger coaching tree than Gable?
Ooh, I don't know. Don't you feel like it has to start at some point? Because Vincenzo, is he the first one to leave?
Well,
Frank Molinaro.
Frank was early one.
Dan Valamont is still entering tournaments.
Yeah.
Dan's living in Puerto Rico. He does not coach college wrestling.
Really? Well, yeah, I didn't think he was a coach, but he's been coaching or competing,
Yeah.
I
think he's done.
Mark Hall just got a job at Penn.
Go on.
I don't know. It seems like there's a different wrestling economy than there was, which helped add to Gable's tree.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing, if you wanted to stay in wrestling, go coach.
Yeah.
That hasn't had to happen so far with Koll's guys. But I mean, even though he's been coaching for a long time, the coaching tree follows a few years after the the actual athletes are competing. But honestly, I don't think so. I think Gable's tree was really unique. I mean, I think just the timing of when those guys were coming out made it a lot more likely that they would go coach. So I kind of don't think his tree will be as large. But there's also a chance that Kale coaches a lot longer, which could help.
That's true. Well, right now, but Kale's not even close to the top because, I mean, John Smith is huge. Rob Kohl's is huge. We talked about those two. Right. I mean, even like some of the smaller coaches at bigger coaching trees, because Kale doesn't have one guy who wrestled for him who's a head coach right now, correct?
No.
I don't think so.
The other thing that's unique about Kale is you think about Gable and the people that were assistants alongside him, and it wasn't like a crazy revolving door, but there were a lot of different people that got looks alongside him, coaching alongside him. And Kale has basically constructed a staff that has 3 head coaches, pretty much, and they're all super satisfied. They're happy. You hear about people wanting to hire them, but there's not this big move for them to move on and take other jobs. I mean, literally, Casey was was like next in line, right, at Central Michigan before he joined Kale, and Cody was a head coach at Utah Valley, came to join Kale. These guys, I mean, and then their volunteer assistant is an Olympic gold medalist and has been around for a long time. So that also slows down the churning out of more coaches.
Yeah, I think that nucleus staying at Penn State is going to prohibit the tree. I feel like it's going to be something where, all of a sudden we're going to have Penn State coaches all over the place, but for a period of time they're all going to be there. Like at some point, I think David Taylor is going to be a college coach. That was always his dream.
He says no now.
Yeah, now I was going to say, now I wonder if is it the club? Is that what the tree is going to look like? They're going to have different coaches all around the country running these youth clubs, these Askren Wrestling Academy, these M2 types of places. I don't know.
Blake, I don't know. This has nothing to do with Kale, but I'm thinking about Jordan Burroughs, right? He coached at Nebraska for like a year, decided, I don't think that's what I want to do. Now he's innovating in these new ways. He's part of this app that's coming out. He's doing these new things. And even what you're up to, Ben, I mean, normally probably the path for you 20 years ago would have been college coach. You started that, but then you're like, no, let me go run my own thing. Let me start these academies. I can build something that's my own. I think it's a good thing that those options exist now. So if Kale's tree is not as big, I don't think that's any fault of Kale's or any evidence that Gable was a better, more productive coach. I think it's just evidence that wrestling has evolved and grown, and now people have different options.
Yeah, that's probably the broader point.
I guess I have to think about it more deeply, but on the one, it's showing that he can keep everyone close and that he's treating everyone well. Because usually when if a leader can do that and keep that nucleus so tight, it's a really good sign that he's treating everyone really well and they want to be there. So I think that says a lot. And then but then maybe it's like I also feel like a good quote, a good characteristic of leader is to push other people out who lead, like we're talking about with Gable or John Smith or Rob Koll. So it's like I'm kind of in the middle there because, and who knows, maybe there's there's somewhere the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, a balance of those things.
Were you saying you think they should be pushed out and put in opportunities to lead? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying both. I'm saying I said that's what I'm saying. It's the answer somewhere is in the middle. Is a balance. Is a good leader keeps his whole team happy, keeps them moving forward together in unison, right, as a unit. But also another good characteristic of a leader is that he is able to create other leaders who go out and do their own things. And so like in one instance, Kale's doing the best job ever, pretty much, and the other, he's not really pushing any other leaders out. So, it's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like I have to think more about it. It's probably a really, really deep issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, thinking about it, I think part of the secret sauce is the elements of ownership and leadership those guys get within the program too.
Yeah, that's true.
Is sort of satiating them to that degree. But yeah, obviously a big topic. I think it's an interesting question, and I would have to agree with David's assessment. It's probably unlikely that there's going to be a tree like Gable's ever.
Yeah.
So with that, it's 9:46 deep in the heart of Texas. Thanks so much to you for listening, and especially Rob Koll for coming on. That was awesome. We should do that a little more often. We hope you guys have a great week, and we will be back next Tuesday. Will JD Raider be back? We don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's just going to stay in Mexico. He's cordially invited to return Tuesday, but the ball's in his court. The ball's not in Ben Askren's court. We will see you Tuesday. I'll be there. Tyler will be there producing. And hopefully you will be there listening. Have a great weekend. Thanks to David, and goodbye.